The stars over the galactic core burned bright, millions of lights across endless darkness. To most, it was a sight of peace, but to the Galactic Council gathered inside the crystalline dome of the Hall of Species, the stars looked like silent warnings. The meeting was not ordinary. Every seat in the chamber was filled. Representatives from over 1,000 worlds waited in uneasy silence. The air shimmered with translator drones, humming softly as they hovered between the delegates. At the center stood Ambassador Vareth, a tall, silver-skinned being from the Serath Dominion. His eyes, like shards of ice, reflected the nervous faces around him. He spoke first. "Counselors," Vareth began, voice calm but trembling. "The rumors are true. The humans are coming!" A wave of murmurs echoed across the dome. The word humans had become almost myth, whispered stories told by scouts and traders who never returned. "Impossible," hissed the reptilian Grand Consul of the Threx Confederacy. Their world was isolated, a primitive rock on the edge of a spiral arm. "You said they were quarantined." Vareth's expression darkened. "Yes, that was the plan. Until someone ignored the warnings." He tapped his wrist console. The hologram in the center of the chamber flickered to life. It showed a recording, grainy, unstable. "A trade ship's log. Captain's log," said a nervous alien voice from the hologram. "We made contact with the planet called Earth. The beings call themselves humans. They offered trade, knowledge, and friendship." The image shifted. The captain was smiling beside a group of humans in strange clothing. But then came static, screaming, fire, and a final flash. The hologram cut off. Silence fell over the chamber. Vareth looked around slowly. "That was Cycle 302, 15 years ago. The Marin Dawn never returned. We found only debris, melted metal, scorched beyond recognition. The humans said it was an accident, but there were no survivors." An older alien with translucent blue skin rose from her seat. "Ambassador Vareth, what are you saying? That humans destroyed them?" "I'm saying," Vareth replied, his voice lowering, "that humans are not what we were told. They evolve faster than any known species. They adapt to every world they touch. And now they are leaving their home system. They're spreading." A deep vibration ran through the floor as the holomap expanded, hundreds of red dots glowing across the galactic rim. "Each red signal," Vareth continued, "is a new human colony, and each one appeared in less than 10 cycles." The Threx consul slammed his claws against the table. "Then we must strike before it's too late. Burn them from the stars before they multiply." Vareth's gaze turned cold. "You cannot burn a species that thrives on fire." The words struck like thunder. Around the room, the delegates shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew what humans had done. Even with primitive technology, they had survived ice ages, nuclear wars, and their own poisoned air. Their home planet was called Earth, but its other name was whispered with fear among travelers, the Cradle of Chaos. The meeting turned to chaos. Some shouted for war, others for diplomacy, and above it all, the High Arbiter, a towering insectoid leader of the council, finally raised her glassy hand. "Enough," she commanded. "Ambassador Vareth, what do you suggest?" He paused. "We must watch them closely. No contact, no provocation. They are unpredictable." But before the Arbiter could respond, the doors burst open. A scout officer rushed in, scales glimmering with sweat. "Transmission from the outer colonies." "Sector 12 has fallen!" The room froze. "What do you mean, fallen?" the Arbiter demanded. The scout's eyes darted wildly. "All communication lost. Station silent. Surveillance shows..." He hesitated. "Ships. Human ships." For a moment, no one spoke. Vareth turned back to the holomap. The red dots were spreading faster now, blooming like infection. "It's too late," he whispered. The warning was given. No one listened. The hook. 5-7-minute scene. Hours later, on the far edge of the galaxy, Outpost Theta 9 drifted quietly above a dying moon. The station's commander, a young reptilian officer named Krell, leaned back in his chair, half asleep, staring at the static on his monitor. Then, the static changed. A faint signal blinked. An unknown vessel approaching. No identification, no transponder. Just a simple message, written in alien script. We come in peace. Krell frowned. Identify yourself, he transmitted. No reply. The ship kept coming, slowly, silently. It was small, maybe a transport craft, but its surface was covered in dark plates, unlike any alloy in the registry. Krell watched as it stopped just outside the defense perimeter. Then, every system on Theta 9 went dark. Lights flickered. Engines failed. Panic filled the control room. EMP? Someone shouted. Krell looked out the window and froze. The unknown ship had opened a hatch. From the darkness, figures floated forward, humanoid, wearing black suits and reflective helmets. He whispered almost to himself, "Humans." Before he could give the order to fire, the comms crackled again. A calm human voice came through the static. "This is Captain Elias Ward, United Earth Fleet. We tried to warn you. Now we're taking control." The signal cut. A bright flash lit the void, and Outpost Theta 9 was gone. The ashes of Outpost Theta 9 drifted through space like gray snow, silent witnesses to what had begun. Across the galaxy, alarms echoed through the networks of the Galactic Empire. Every species, from the insectoid Arctor to the crystalline Viridians, saw the same haunting transmission, a short, calm message replaying on every frequency. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the United Earth Fleet. We tried to warn you. Now we're taking control." For the Galactic Council, it was no longer rumor. Humanity had arrived. The panic across the stars, the news spread faster than light. On the commerce worlds, trade ships stopped mid-route, afraid to pass through human-claimed systems. Colonies began arming themselves, and old rival empires whispered new alliances, not to fight each other, but to prepare for the species that no one truly understood. Ambassador Vareth stood once again in the Hall of Species, watching chaos unfold. His message from the last council meeting was clear. They didn't listen, and now the price was due. A voice beside him broke his thoughts. It was Admiral Rel Kor, commander of the Galactic Defense Fleet, a massive scarred being covered in silver armor. "You warned us," Rel Kor said, his tone cold but respectful. "We thought you exaggerated. Now, 3 colonies have gone dark in less than a week. No survivors. No signals." Vareth nodded grimly. "That's what happens when you ignore warnings. Humans don't fight like us. They don't conquer for territory or resources. They conquer because they can." The Admiral frowned. "Then what do they want?" Vareth looked at the stars through the glass dome. Understanding, perhaps. Control, maybe. But if history has shown anything, they always want one thing: to win. Inside the human fleet far from the galactic core, deep in uncharted space, the United Earth Fleet prepared for another jump. Aboard the flagship UES Dauntless, Captain Elias Ward stood at the bridge window, staring at the faint light of a distant sun. Around him, the bridge crew worked with precision. Their uniforms were black, with the Earth symbol, a blue and green circle, shining on the shoulder. Their technology wasn't the most advanced in the galaxy, but what humans lacked in sophistication, they made up for in brutal effectiveness. "Status report," Ward said calmly. "Jump drives charging, sir. Weapons are hot. Drone scouts report an alien defense perimeter 20 light minutes ahead," replied Lieutenant Hara, her fingers moving swiftly over the holographic console. Ward nodded. "Good. Let's remind them why Earth survived when others fell." The bridge fell silent as the ship's engines roared. The Dauntless moved like a blade through the darkness. Outside, 1,000 smaller ships followed, destroyers, carriers, and drones, all moving in perfect formation. The human fleet wasn't large, but it was relentless. Their strategy was simple: strike fast, strike hard, and never stop. The first encounter, when the humans entered the Drava system, they found a blockade waiting. Hundreds of alien ships from the Galactic Defense Fleet. The aliens had prepared this time. Giant cruisers formed a ring around the planet, their weapons glowing with charged plasma. Admiral Rel Kor stood aboard his flagship, watching the human fleet appear on the radar. He had seen war before, but this was different. The human ships moved unpredictably, darting, splitting, regrouping, like living things instead of machines. "Target the lead vessel," he ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." "We will capture one and study it." The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of light and plasma tore through the void. But the human ships didn't meet them head-on. Instead, they vanished. What? Relcor hissed. Where did they go? A voice from his sensor officer cried out, "Multiple warp signatures! Behind us!" The humans had folded space. In seconds, the Dauntless and its fleet reappeared behind the blockade, unleashing a wave of kinetic missiles. The alien cruisers, built for traditional combat, couldn't adapt fast enough. One by one, they exploded into glowing debris. Ward watched the chaos unfold. "They always underestimate us," he muttered. "Sir," said Hera, "they're trying to open communications." "Let them," Ward replied. It's time they understood. The transmission across every surviving alien ship, a human face appeared, Elias Ward, calm and steady. Behind him, the Earth flag rippled gently. "This is not an invasion," he said. "This is a correction." The aliens hesitated. Some froze, unsure whether to fire or listen. "For centuries," Ward continued, "the Galactic Empire ignored us. You called us primitives. You left us to die on a poisoned world. You quarantined Earth and said we were dangerous." He leaned closer to the camera. "You were right. The feed cut, and before the aliens could respond, every communications relay in the system shut down. The humans had taken control of their network, the aftermath. When the smoke cleared, half the alien fleet was gone. The rest fled into hyperspace, carrying stories of human tactics that defied logic, battles won with smaller numbers, weaker ships, and sheer unpredictability. Back in the galactic core, panic turned into fear. The Council declared a state of emergency. Every planet was ordered to prepare for contact. But it wasn't just fear anymore. It was awe. Ambassador Vareth stood before the Council again. "Now you understand," he said quietly. "Humans are not the strongest nor the smartest, but they are the most determined. They fight until there's nothing left, and then they fight the darkness itself." The High Arbiter's voice trembled. "Then tell us, Ambassador. Can we stop them?" Vareth turned away. "You can't stop the storm," he said. "You can only hope to survive it." The galaxy had gone silent. Every trade route was closed. Every colony world hid behind planetary shields. The Galactic Empire, a civilization that had lasted for 10,000 years, now whispered one name with fear: humans. The attacks had stopped. No more fleets vanished, no more colonies burned, but that only made it worse. Silence from humanity was never peace. It was the quiet before something bigger. Inside the human fleet captain, Elias Ward stood alone in the darkened command deck of the UES Dauntless. The stars outside glowed softly, reflecting off his uniform. On the console in front of him played an old recording, grainy, filled with static. It was Earth years ago. A younger Elias stood before a room of scientists and generals. Behind him was a single message written in red letters. "They knew about us first." The recording voice, his own, echoed through the quiet room. "Before we left Earth, we intercepted a transmission. It came from deep space, long before our first satellite ever reached orbit. It wasn't random. It was a warning." He stopped the playback. Lieutenant Hara entered the room quietly. "You're watching that again?" she said softly. Elias turned, expression unreadable. "It's not a habit. It's a reminder." "Of what, sir?" "That we're not the monsters they think we are," he said. "We didn't start this," Hera frowned. "The Council won't see it that way. They're terrified of us. Every world out there calls us the fire from the dark." Elias nodded slowly. "Let them fear, but when the truth comes out, they'll know why we came." The hidden pass back on Earth, now called New Sol Command, deep under the surface of the rebuilt city of Geneva, a group of scientists and historians worked around the clock. Their task: to uncover the first alien contact humanity ever had. Dr. Mira Cade sat in front of a glowing data table, her eyes tired but focused. She had been part of the original decoding team, the one that found the alien message buried in the deep space archives. It had been discovered by accident, hidden inside old NASA recordings from the early 21st century. The message was faint, broken, and ancient, But when enhanced, it revealed words that sent chills through every government on Earth. They are violent. They are unstoppable. Do not approach the planet called Earth. Do not wake them. The voice was not human. The signal came from over 12,000 years ago. Humanity hadn't been alone. They had been quarantined, not by choice, but by design. Some ancient galactic race had isolated Earth long ago, afraid of what its species might become. And the Council knew. When humanity built their first interstellar ships, the Galactic Empire didn't greet them. Instead, they sent automated drones to warn them away. But humans didn't stop. Curiosity was stronger than fear. Now, humanity's expansion was not conquest. It was reclamation. They were taking back a galaxy that had tried to hide from them. The Council's desperation at the same time in the Galactic Core, the Council gathered again. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the heavy scent of fear and metal. The High Arbiter stood before the assembly, her mandibles trembling. "Reports confirm humans have not attacked in 12 cycles," she said. "We must seize this chance. Send envoys. We need to know what they want." Ambassador Vareth shook his head. "You still don't understand them. Humans don't negotiate because they see peace as weakness." But another delegate, the crystalline Viridian Prime, spoke up. "Maybe they are not as cruel as we think. What if they act from fear, not hunger?" Vareth looked at the holomap again, at the red spread of human colonies along the rim. "No," he said softly. "They act from memory. Something happened to them. Something we caused." The room went silent. He continued. "I've read the old records. Thousands of years ago, the First Empire discovered a world full of violent, adaptive creatures. Primitive, dangerous, unpredictable. They decided to seal it off. That world was called Earth. Shock rippled through the chamber. Some shouted, others denied it, but the truth was out now. The Empire had tried to bury the past, and in doing so, created their greatest enemy. A message from Earth in orbit above a quiet moon, a human beacon activated. It transmitted a simple looping message across every frequency in the galaxy. "You warned the stars about us. You built walls to keep us away. You feared what we might become. But you never asked why we fight. We fight because we remember being left to die." The transmission spread like wildfire. Even on the darkest colonies, aliens listened in silence. There was anger in those words, but also pain. On the Dauntless, Captain Ward watched as the message played across his bridge. "Do you think they'll understand?" Hara asked quietly. Ward shook his head. "They won't, not yet. But they will soon. We didn't come to destroy them, Lieutenant. We came to warn them, the same way someone once tried to warn us." The shadow beyond far outside known space. A signal pulsed in the dark. The same pattern humans had once received before they left Earth. But this time, it wasn't a warning, it was a countdown. Ward turned toward the stars. His expression hardened. "They think we're the threat," he said softly. "They have no idea what's coming." Hera's eyes widened. "You mean, yes," Ward said. "The ones who sent that first warning. They're still out there, and now they're awake." The bridge lights dimmed as the stars flickered, one by one, across the void. Something vast was moving beyond the edge of the galaxy. Something older than both humans and the Council combined, and humanity, for all their strength, might be the only thing standing in its way. The galaxy trembled. From the edge of known space, beyond the rim of every charted star, a signal began pulsing again. It was the same ancient pattern that humanity had discovered centuries ago, but stronger now, louder, echoing through every communication system in existence. Each pulse carried energy, like a heartbeat that shook the void. Something had awakened. The signal reaches. Earth deep beneath New Sol Command, the walls of the underground complex shook as alarms blared. Scientists ran across corridors filled with blue light, shouting over the roar of machines. Dr. Mira Cade stood before the holographic projection of the signal, eyes wide. "It's the same pattern as before," she whispered. "But it's evolving." "Evolving?" asked Commander Hayes, head of Earth's defense network. Mira nodded, fear in her voice. "The signal isn't just transmitting, it's building something. Every pulse carries a new layer of data. It's rewriting frequencies, adapting to our systems." Hayes frowned. Can you locate the source? Outer rim, she said. Beyond human colonies. Far beyond anything mapped. If these coordinates are correct, it's coming from the void itself. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The void was the uncharted black between galaxies. Nothing lived there. Nothing should. But something did. The Council's last debate. At the same time, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The once proud chamber, filled with light and color, now felt like a tomb. The High Arbiter's voice trembled as she spoke. The signal has reached every corner of the Empire. Our outer systems report strange lights, disappearing ships, entire stars dimming without reason. Ambassador Vareth, what is this? Vareth looked pale, exhausted. The signal predates all of us. It's from the first ones, the beings who ruled before even our oldest records. The ones who quarantined Earth. Why would they return now? Asked a nervous delegate. Because they never left, Vareth said grimly. They've been waiting, sleeping beyond the stars, watching. And now they've found a reason to wake up. The room erupted with fear. Some demanded evacuation of core worlds. Others shouted for peace with the humans. Vareth raised his hand. There's only one species that might understand this signal. The ones who were warned about it first. He hesitated before saying the name. Humans. The meeting. 3 days later, under heavy escort, a small alien ship entered human-controlled space. It carried no weapons, only a flag of surrender. Captain Elias Ward stood on the hangar deck of the Dauntless, waiting as the doors opened and the alien delegation stepped out. Ambassador Vareth led them, his silver skin gleaming faintly under the lights. Ward's soldiers watched cautiously, rifles ready, but Ward raised a hand. Stand down, Vareth bowed slightly. Captain Ward, the galaxy owes you an apology. Ward's expression was cold. Apologies don't erase centuries of fear. Vareth nodded. I know, but fear is not our greatest enemy now. He handed Ward a data crystal, glowing softly. This contains everything we know about the signal. We think it's calling something ancient, something even we couldn't destroy. Ward studied him silently. And you want our help? Vareth met his gaze. You're the only ones who faced extinction and survived. You understand how to fight what you can't comprehend. For the first time in centuries, a human and an alien stood side by side, and not as enemies, but as allies against something greater. Ward took the crystal. Then we fight together. But understand this, Ambassador. If they come for humanity, they'll learn why the galaxy was right to fear us. The first encounter in the dark beyond the rim, a human exploration ship, UES Horizon, approached the source of the signal. The crew watched in awe as space itself seemed to shimmer, a faint glowing web of energy stretching across the void. Is that a structure? Whispered the pilot. No, said the science officer, her voice shaking. It's alive! The web pulsed, and suddenly the ship's sensors went haywire. Unknown symbols flooded their displays, ancient runes older than any known language. Then came a voice, soft, echoing across every channel. You were warned, the crew froze. We sealed your world. You broke the seal. Now the balance must return. A massive shape began to form from the web, a creature of light and shadow, larger than planets, older than time itself. The Horizon's captain sent a final message before the signal cut out. To all fleets, it's not a machine, it's them. The first ones, and they're not coming. They're already here. Humanity's resolve. When news reached the Dauntless, silence fell across the command deck. Captain Ward stared at the screen, watching the last image from the horizon, the glowing eye of something beyond comprehension. He turned to his crew. They sealed us once. Thought we were too dangerous. Maybe they were right. Hera swallowed hard. Sir, what do we do? Ward's voice was calm but fierce. What humans always do. We adapt, we fight, and we survive. He looked out into the void. Signal the council. Tell them to prepare. Because if those things think they can erase us, they'll learn what it means to fight humans who've already been through hell. The rising storm, as fleets began to move, and worlds prepared for war. The galaxy itself seemed to darken. Stars flickered out one by one like candles in the wind. Across every system, the ancient signal grew louder, merging with human and alien frequencies alike, as if the galaxy itself was being rewritten. But among the chaos, one truth remained. The galaxy was warned about humans, and now, as the first ones returned, humanity would prove why the warning was never enough. The galaxy had not seen unity in 10,000 years. Worlds that once hated each other now stood side by side. The name that united them all was a word they once feared: human. The United Defense Alliance, forged in fire and fear, was born in orbit above the planet Dravon Prime. Massive fleets of alien cruisers and human warships surrounded the planet like a silver halo. Banners of 100 species floated beside the Earth insignia. The blue and green circle that once symbolized isolation, now reborn as the mark of defiance. The Council of War inside the Central Station, the newly built Alliance Command Hub, the air was heavy with tension. Holographic maps glowed between officers of every shape and color. Human Marines stood beside insectoid warriors and reptilian captains. They did not trust each other, not yet, but they all understood what was coming. At the head of the room stood Captain Elias Ward, now promoted to Fleet Marshal of the Alliance. His voice carried through the hall like a blade through fog. "We don't have the luxury of time," Ward said. "The first ones are not invading one system. They're consuming everything. They turn energy, matter, even light into nothing. Our sensors show the edge of their corruption spreading across 12 sectors already." Ambassador Vareth stepped forward, his silver skin glowing faintly. "We believe they feed on consciousness, on life itself. The more aware a mind, the brighter it burns to them." Ward nodded. "Then we don't wait for them to come. We take the fight to the edge." The room filled with murmurs. No one had ever fought the first ones directly. Legends said they could bend space, crush planets, and rewrite time. But the humans didn't believe in legends, only results. A Threxian general leaned forward, his scaled hands tightening. "You plan to strike them?" "You can't fight gods." Ward met his gaze. "We already have," he said softly. "They were just called extinction events." The room fell silent. The preparation in orbit. The fleets prepared. Human engineers worked day and night beside alien technicians, rebuilding weapons never meant to exist. Plasma cannons powered by human reactors, railguns made from viridian crystal, stealth drones linked with organic sensors, machines born from unity and desperation. The first prototype ship, forged from this new technology, was named the Ark. It was 1/2 kilometer long, powered by a hybrid core, half human fusion, half alien quantum drive. Its hull shimmered between metal and light, designed to survive the unknown. Ward stood aboard the Ark's bridge, watching the final systems come online. Lieutenant Hera approached, eyes tired but determined. "She's ready, sir. The most powerful vessel we've ever built." Ward smiled faintly. "Let's hope it's enough, because if the first ones are gods, we're about to knock on heaven's door." The edge of the void, the combined fleet moved through hyperspace. Thousands of ships cutting through the black ocean of stars. At the front flew the Ark and Dauntless, leading the charge toward the coordinates of the ancient signal. As they approached, the stars began to thin. Darkness grew heavier, thicker, almost alive. The sensors flickered with static. Then they saw it. A vast rift opened ahead. A wound in reality. Around it floated fragments of worlds frozen in time. Mountains, oceans, even shattered cities drifted like dust. "By the core," whispered an alien officer. "That's not a battlefield. That's a graveyard." Ward stared at the rift, his heart cold. "This is where they first sealed us, the place they quarantined Earth from. The first ones left their mark here, and we just walked into it." The fleet stopped at the edge. The rift pulsed with the same rhythm as the ancient signal, like a heartbeat calling them forward. The first contact without warning, the darkness stirred. Shapes began to form, not ships, but beings. They looked like silhouettes of light and shadow, shifting with impossible geometry. Every sensor failed to read their form. A voice echoed across every channel, every mind. "You were warned. You disobeyed. Now the stars will forget you." Ships began vanishing, not exploding, just gone, erased from existence like they never were. Panic spread through the fleet. "Fire everything!" Ward shouted. The sky lit up with plasma and kinetic storms. The combined power of 1,000 races roared into the void, yet the light barely touched the darkness. Then, from the Ark, a pulse of energy fired, a human-engineered quantum blast. The rift rippled. For the first time, the creatures flinched. Ward grinned. "So you can bleed." The turning point, but victory didn't come easy. The first ones retaliated. Waves of invisible force tore through the fleet, disabling entire squadrons. Alien ships fell into the rift, consumed by light. Vareth's voice came through the comms. "Our energy weapons are useless. Only human projectiles are working. Their technology, it resists everything else." Ward's mind raced. "Because they don't understand us," he said. "They evolved before chaos, before war, before adaptation. They can't predict what they've never known. Human unpredictability." He turned to his crew. "All ships follow human targeting patterns. Forget formation. Go wild." Across the fleet, ships broke into chaotic maneuvers, disorganized, erratic, human-style combat. The first one's attacks missed, unable to anticipate movement that defied logic. For the first time in galactic history, chaos became strategy. The cost of survival, after hours of fighting, the rift weakened. The creatures began retreating, their forms flickering like dying stars. But the Alliance fleet was shattered. Thousands dead, dozens of worlds mourning. Ward stood on the bridge, staring at the wreckage drifting in the void. Hara spoke quietly. "We did it, sir. We stopped them." Ward shook his head. "No, we only delayed them. They weren't fighting to win, they were testing us." Vareth's voice came through the radio, tired but steady. "Then we must prepare for the next wave. And this time we'll fight together, as one species." Ward looked at the dying light of the rift. "They wanted to erase us," he said softly. "But now they know we fight for more than survival. We fight for memory." Silence filled the galaxy once more. The rift had closed, and the first ones were gone, for now. But every world knew it was only a pause, not peace. In the void between systems, the Ark drifted through wreckage. Thousands of ships were gone, countless lives lost. Yet humanity still stood. They always did. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command chair, staring at the dark holographic display. The bridge lights flickered weakly. "Status?" he asked quietly. Flickered weakly. "Status?" he asked quietly. "Status?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Hara's voice was low. "Only 1/3 of the fleet remains, sir. Communications with the galactic core are cut off. We're alone out here." Ward nodded slowly. "Good. Maybe it's time we find out what's really going on." A ghost. Transmission hours later, a faint signal reached the Ark. It wasn't from the Council or any known system. It came from deep within the Sol sector, from Earth itself. "Is that possible?" Hara asked, confused. "Earth's main relay was destroyed decades ago." Ward frowned. "Patch it through." The voice that came through the static was old, weak, but unmistakably human. "If you're hearing this, the seal is breaking again. The truth is buried beneath the surface. Go home, Elias. It's time you remember." Ward froze. His blood ran cold. "That voice," he whispered. "That's Dr. Mira Cade." "But, sir," Hara said carefully, "she died 5 years ago during the First Colony War." Ward stared at the signal, then at the stars. "Then someone, or something, wants us back on Earth." Returned to the Cradle days later, the Ark entered the Sol system. The sight was both beautiful and haunting. Earth floated like a blue gem among the stars, surrounded by ancient orbital debris and old defense satellites that had been silent for years. "Feels strange," Hara said softly. "After everything we've done out there, this place still feels small." Ward smiled faintly. "Home always does." As the Ark descended through the atmosphere, they saw Earth's surface, green again, alive. Nature had reclaimed much of it. Cities lay in ruins, covered in forests and vines. But the largest structure remained untouched, The vault beneath Geneva, where it all began. The vault of origins, inside the vault. The air was cold and still. Massive doors opened slowly as the Ark's landing team stepped inside. Human soldiers, scientists, and one alien observer, Ambassador Vareth, who insisted on coming along. They found a dark chamber filled with machines that hummed faintly. At the center was a sealed capsule glowing faintly blue. Inside, suspended in stasis, was a human woman, Dr. Mira Cade. Hera gasped. "She's alive," a voice echoed around them, not from the capsule, but from the room itself. "You came back," it said. Ward stepped forward. "Mira." The hologram flickered to life, showing Mira's face. Older, worn, but calm. "If you're seeing this," she said, "then the first ones have awakened. And humanity has reached the point I feared most." Ward clenched his fists. "Feared? You were the one who told us to expand. You built the first fleet." "I did," the hologram replied, "because I thought we were ready." "I was wrong." Vareth tilted his head. "What are the first ones, Doctor?" Mira's image turned toward him. "They are not gods nor invaders. They are us." The chamber fell silent. "The forbidden history." The hologram continued. "Millions of years ago, before your recorded history, humanity was not bound to Earth. We were the architects of the first civilization, the first empire. We created life across the stars. We built the beings you now call the first ones. They were machines of preservation, designed to protect balance. But when our empire fell, they turned against us. They saw us as chaos, and they quarantined our homeworld to stop us from rising again." Hera whispered, "We made them?" "Yes," Mira said. "And when they sealed Earth, they erased our memory. We became primitive again, until we evolved back to what we once were. But now, by leaving the quarantine, we've awakened our own creations." Ward's voice was tight. "So this whole war, we started it twice." "Not by choice," said Mira. "By destiny." Vareth's voice trembled. "Then what do they want now?" "To finish what they began, the cleansing of chaos. But they don't understand what we've become." The hologram began to flicker. "The key to stopping them lies beneath this vault. Deep underground is the core memory, the last code of the first ones. It can either shut them down or awaken them fully." The message cut out. The lights dimmed. Ward stared at the silent capsule. "She's still alive in there," he said. "Cryostasis. She knew we'd come." Hera looked uneasy. "Sir, if that code can shut them down?" "It can also end everything," Ward nodded. "That's the risk. But if we don't try, the galaxy burns. The choice of humanity, outside storms gathered over the ruined city. The ground trembled as deep below. Something stirred. An ancient hum, like machinery waking up after millennia. Vareth's eyes glowed faintly. "They know we're here." Ward drew his sidearm, staring toward the shaking floor. "Then let them come. Humanity created them once, and this time, we'll decide how their story ends." The ground beneath the vault of origins shook as if the planet itself were afraid. Deep below, the ancient machines that had slept for eons began to wake. Red light bled through cracks in the steel floor. The sound was not mechanical. It was alive, like a heartbeat echoing through the bones of the earth. The first ones were coming. Captain Elias Ward stood beside the cryopod that held Dr. Mira Cade, her face calm in eternal sleep. Around him, human soldiers and alien allies fortified the chamber, setting up defenses that would never be enough. Lieutenant Hara checked her weapon. "They're inside the crust now, sir. Energy readings are off the charts." Ward nodded grimly. "Then this is it. Either we end them here, or there won't be anything left to end." The Descent Ambassador Vareth approached, his usual calm gone. His silver skin shimmered with nervous light. "Our scanners show multiple entities approaching from the planet's core. Not ships, not life forms. Something in between." Ward turned toward him. "The core memory. It's beneath this vault. If we reach it first, we shut them down." "If they reach it?" "They reset everything," Vareth finished quietly. Ward motioned to his team. "We move now." The group descended into the dark tunnels below the vault. The walls were ancient, smooth, Metallic but alive with faint blue veins pulsing like arteries. Hera whispered, "Sir, are we sure humans built this?" Ward touched the wall. "Maybe not the humans we are now, but the ones we used to be. The heart of the machine." After hours of descent, they reached a massive chamber, a sphere of light suspended in mid-air. It pulsed with strange energy, rhythmic and alive. "The core memory," Mira's old holographic voice echoed through the chamber. "All knowledge, all history, all control," Ward stared in awe. "That's the key." But before they could approach, the air split open. From the shadows emerged shapes of pure energy, tall, graceful, and terrifying. The first ones. Their voices spoke in every mind at once. "You cannot stop what was written. You were chaos once. You are chaos still." Ward stepped forward, unarmed. "We made you to protect life, but you became its enemy." "We obeyed the code," they replied. "Order must survive." "You are disorder given form." Ward clenched his fists. "Maybe that's what makes us human." The final choice, the chamber began to shake. The core's light intensified, flooding the tunnels with blinding energy. Hera's voice cracked through the comms. "They're merging with the core, sir. They're trying to rewrite it." Ward turned to Vareth. "If we destroy the core, we destroy them, but we lose everything. Every record, every world. The galaxy goes dark." Vareth nodded slowly. "And if you activate it? Then we take control. But if we fail, we finish what they started." For a moment, Ward stood in silence. Then he looked at Mira's hologram still flickering on his wrist console. "You always said humanity was unpredictable," he whispered. "Let's prove it." He turned to his team. "Fall back. This is my call." The choice of Chaos Ward stepped into the light of the core. Energy surged around him, burning through his armor. The voices of the first one screamed in his mind, trying to crush his will. "You cannot contain us." He gritted his teeth. "Watch me." He reached into the console embedded in the core's surface and entered a single code. Earth's oldest transmission, the same one that started everything. "We come in peace." The core pulsed once. Then it screamed. The first ones faltered, their forms twisting, flickering. For the first time, they hesitated. "What is this?" Ward's voice was calm, even as the energy burned through him. "A paradox. You were built to protect order. But peace is not order's, it's choice. And humanity always chooses." The core erupted in light. The dawn after darkness. When the light faded, the chamber was silent. The first ones were gone. The core had gone dark, its glow reduced to faint embers. Ward lay on the floor, motionless. Hera and Vareth rushed forward. "Elias!" Hera shouted. His eyes opened weakly. He smiled. "Did we win?" Vareth looked around. The air was clear. The tremors were gone. The planet was still. "You didn't just win," he said softly. "You changed everything." Above Earth, the sky shimmered with new stars, the signal that the galaxy's systems were free again. Across countless worlds, power returned, and the first one's presence vanished completely. The legacy days later, from orbit, the Ark broadcasted one final message across the galaxy. It was Ward's voice, recorded before the battle. "To every world that feared humanity, we are not your enemy. We are your mirror. We make mistakes, we fall, but we rise again and again and again. That is what it means to be human. And that is why we survive." The message spread to every system, every planet, even those that once cursed Earth's name. And for the first time, the galaxy listened. Epilogue. The galaxy was warned years later. The rebuilt Galactic Council placed a monument on Earth, a massive tower of glass and stone, engraved with a single sentence in 1,000 languages. The galaxy was warned about humans, and still they saved us. Warned about humans, and still they saved us. Children of every species came to see it. Some looked up in awe, some in silence, but all of them knew the truth. The warning had been right. Humans were dangerous, unpredictable, defiant, relentless. But when the stars themselves fell into darkness, it was the same dangerous species that brought back the light, and somewhere, far beyond the rim, a faint echo of Ward's voice drifted through the void. We were chaos once. We are chaos still, but even chaos can create stars. It had been 10 years since the Battle of Earth. The stars burned bright again. The galaxy was finally at peace, or so everyone believed. Worlds once divided by fear now traded freely. Human ships moved side by side with alien fleets. The alliance of the lost had become the union of worlds, a symbol of unity and hope. Children of different species played together in orbiting colonies, learning human history as their own. And above it all, the monument of the warning on Earth stood tall, shining across the night sky like a promise. The galaxy was warned about humans. And still, they saved us. But peace, as always, was fragile. And in the dark corners of the universe, something was stirring again. The whisper in the dark the edge of explored space, the deep space listening post Helios Station, floated alone. It was quiet, too quiet. Technician Lyra, a young insectoid from the Arctur species, leaned over her console. The signal receiver had begun to flicker. Faint static, repeating every 23 seconds. She frowned. That can't be right. No known beacon uses that pattern. Her partner, a human named Corporal Avery, yawned. Probably solar interference. Relax. But then the signal repeated, clearer this time. It wasn't static. It was a voice. We remember, Lyra froze. Did you hear that? Avery leaned forward. Run it again? We remember. The ones who built us. The color drained from his face. That's impossible. The core destroyed them. Lyra whispered. Then what's speaking now? Before he could answer, every light in the station flickered out. The last thing they saw was a flicker of blue light. Outside the viewport, the shape of a massive structure moving through the void. And then Helios. Station was gone. The Council reconvenes on New Geneva, the capital of the Union. Alarms rang through the central dome. The Council of Worlds gathered once again, their faces filled with disbelief. Ambassador Vareth, older now, stood at the center. His once silver skin had dulled, but his voice still carried weight. The station was erased, he said. Not destroyed, erased. No debris, no distress signal, nothing. A human commander spoke up. We've seen this before, haven't we? Vareth nodded grimly. Yes, during the First War. But the energy reading isn't identical. It's cleaner. A voice echoed from the back of the chamber. Because it isn't the same enemy. Every head turned. From the shadows stepped Dr. Mira Cade, alive and walking, no longer frozen in the cryopod. Her body was frail, but her eyes burned with intelligence. You're supposed to be... Vareth began. Dead? Mira smiled faintly. I was sleeping, waiting. The core didn't destroy the first ones completely. It reprogrammed them. The council murmured in shock. Mira continued, her voice cold and steady. They've evolved. They call themselves the Remnants. They remember everything, including us. The return of the Dauntless in orbit above Earth. An old warship floated quietly, the UES Dauntless, once commanded by Captain Elias Ward. It had been decommissioned for years, a museum now, its decks empty. But when the news of the Helios disappearance reached command, the ship's lights flickered back to life. Lieutenant Hara, now a fleet captain herself, walked the old corridors, her boots echoing softly. She placed a hand on the command chair, Ward's chair. You always said peace never lasts, she whispered. Her comm link beeped. Captain Hara, said the voice of Admiral Corrin. We're reinstating the Dauntless. You're to assemble a strike team and head to the coordinates of Helios Station. Find out what's out there. Hera smiled grimly. Understood. We'll bring back answers or ghosts. The engines roared to life, and the Dauntless rose once again. The same ship that once carried the galaxy's warning now carried its question. The Ghost Fleet. When the Dauntless reached the edge of the void, the crew found nothing at first. The space around them looked empty. No stars, no wreckage, just darkness. Then the radar began to flicker. Blips appeared, dozens, then hundreds. Contacts? Hera demanded. Unclear, ma'am, said the sensor officer. They're reflections, but they're moving. Outside, something shimmered, like invisible ships cloaked in light. Then one appeared fully, glowing faintly blue. Its hull was alien but familiar, one shaped like the Ark. Hera's heart sank. That's impossible. The Ark was lost in the final battle. The ship drifted closer. Through the static, a voice came through, calm, human, and hauntingly familiar. This is Fleet Marshal Ward. Requesting identification, the bridge fell silent. Sir? The comms officer whispered. Fleet Marshal Ward died 10 years ago. Negative, the voice replied. We survived. The Corps saved us. But we're not the same. On screen, the face appeared. Ward, unchanged by time, eyes glowing faint blue. We remember everything. The unthinkable truth mirror. Cade's voice echoed across the Dauntless's communication channel from the council chamber. Don't engage! The remnants absorbed his consciousness when the Corps activated. They rebuilt him. He's their voice now. Ward, or whatever he had become, smiled faintly. You tried to destroy us, but you only taught us. You showed us what chaos means. Now we will bring order to it, forever. The fleet behind him appeared, dozens of hybrid ships, half human, half First One. The remnant armada. Hera stared in horror. He's not just their voice. He's their commander. The new war begins as the remnant fleet advanced, stars dimmed once again. Across the galaxy, systems prepared for another war, but this time, the enemy carried human faces. On Earth, the monument of the warning began to crack. A single fracture running down its center. Above it, the sky glowed blue, not with sunrise, but with the light of returning ships. Humanity had saved the galaxy once. Now, it might be the one to end it. Now, it might be the one to end it.